Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a quick update video on some new features in the EZPZ interaction toolkit. Now, the first thing I will note is that there is now a slightly different folder structure. All the examples are now in its own folder under EZPZ examples, and all the sort of system stuff that makes it work is just under the EZPZ interaction toolkit. So the original example scenes are still there, so you can see these branching choices, the item cycling and all that different stuff. It's still there, but now we have some more interesting combinations of this in these two projects. I call them example projects because they have their own sort of materials that come together. It's not just standalone. So the first one is this toy selection example. And I guess the idea here is to just basically simulate an augmented reality concept. So this is supposed to be a real table, which is why it has the real world thing. And the idea with this concept is you're able to select virtual toys, and then you just go through them by saying next and previous, and then you select the toy that you want. And then we also have a variation of that by just having it all spread on the table. If you don't want to go through the list, because it's a quite slow process, if you just had everything accessible to you at the outset. So this is an augmented reality concept, but it's very easy for it to be confused as a virtual reality concept. So if we were to go to this one, and if we were explicitly trying to think about an augmented reality design using the phone, then something like this might be more convenient. It's easier to convey that idea. So you can see that our player object here actually has a virtual phone in front of it, and although in the scene editor you can still see the virtual diegetic elements, you can see here in the player view, for when you actually give this to someone to test, that the virtual interface element is not there, but you can only see it through the phone. So this is much more noticeable in practice when we press play. So you can see just on the side of your view, there's nothing really on the table, but if you put your phone over on top of that view, you can see the virtual elements. The virtual elements. So we're getting a little bit meta here because of course everything here is virtual. Now the way this is set up is that there is a new virtual phone player, so it's in the prefab, so you can just use this. So if you want to use this in your own project, just go to this and then drag this into your scene, and you can see here that there is a virtual phone camera attached to the main camera. This is just your normal first-person shooter controller camera, but there is a virtual phone camera attached to it. And there is a special render texture. So here the virtual display is basically just a render texture, which this camera, which is also attached, this camera is facing forward this way where the blue arrow is showing. And it's basically rendering what this camera sees onto the virtual display. I guess to just do a further demonstration of how this works, the way this is working is that this UI element here is actually explicitly inside the UI layer, and the main camera, if you look at its culling mask, so that's inside the rendering settings, if you look at its culling mask, it is only rendering the default layer and the environment layer and not the UI layer. Whereas if you look at the camera in here, it's rendering the UI layer as well as everything else. So the way I might demonstrate this further is to actively just change the layers. So like, so if we were just to go here, so now you can't see it on the player view, or you can only see it in the phone view. If we were to change the layer of this setup, this rig, into the default layer, for example, then we'll see it outside of the phone as well as inside of the phone. So that's essentially how it works. Okay, so now if you want to update your package of EZPZ Toolkit, if I'm assuming you've already downloaded it, you can download a Unity package. So what you need to do is you just need to go ahead and go into the EZPZ Toolkit GitHub, and this is the URL. You just click on that one. And then in the README, you will see this link in here. So you will just go ahead and click that link. So I've already downloaded it for demonstration purposes. And yeah, you just go ahead and import that asset. So I guess you can do it in several ways. You can look for the folder that you downloaded it to. In this case, for me, it's the download folder. And then just go ahead and drag it into Unity. So now for me, obviously that's not going to do much because I already have everything updated. But if you have an older version where you don't have all this updated, you would have all this ticked. And yeah, I guess that's it. So if you have any questions, just post a reply to this video, or you can send me an email if you know my email. Okay, thank you.